Yes, what's up, people? That's right, sensual, moody lighting angles. Actually, let's try this. That's kind of like dark and moody. I'm experimenting with the lighting. It's worth mentioning this because I'm trying to optimize the channel in every single way I can. As you know, I've recently got a new expensive solid state interface for the audio. I know about audio. I got a first in a music degree at Music Academy. But video and lighting, I know nothing about. I spent just loads of money on a camera and now a Sigma lens. It was very expensive, but the quality should dictate. Very expensive studio light adjustable remote thingy. How does lights cost so much money? Anyway, I'm trying to get it in the right place. I just had it behind the camera, Canoning on me, but I want to optimize it and make it look best for you guys. And I think this is kind of good. I had the light right over there, but it was too much shadow on one face, but on one side of my face. It's kind of like moody and cinematic though, like one content creator here to bring you positive or negative news about Chelsea. Anyway, Chelsea are making moves in the darkness, in the quiet. This is kind of Batman vibes, isn't it? And Chelsea are doing deals in the darkness. Fabrizio Romano says we could sell up to 10 more players. We are in a position now where this could be the most profound, radical transition in terms of squad size that the league has ever seen. Think about it. This just squad we had bulging at the seams that was just so ridiculously big that we couldn't fit everyone in the locker room. We had like 2 matches going on instead of or maybe even more. Just loads of stuff going on that basically dictated we had a ridiculously large squad. And now we already sold a bunch of players, we've released a bunch of players, and to sell up to 10 more, are we going to have any players left? We're going to talk about that and talk about Moises Caicedo, some positive news there. If you do want to support the content, you're welcome to, simply by liking, commenting, subscribing. And if you subscribe to this channel, if you choose to subscribe to this channel, you are welcome. And I recommend you hit that sweet, sweet bell, baby. Should have gone deep. Sweet, sweet bell, baby. Anyway, let's get into it. 10 more players. Who have we sold so far? Let's have a recap. The Ziyech deal has collapsed, but out the door we've terminated the likes of Bakayoko. We've of course made high profile sales of Kovacic, Kai Havertz, and to an extent rather, Edouard Mendy and Khalidou Koulibaly to the Saudi Pro League. But up to 10 more, man. I'm reading it's on Twitter, it's permanent or loan. So I suppose that's, makes it a little less radical. But still, we haven't been in this position since maybe 2016, not being in Europe after, finishing mid-table. Of course, we actually did worse last season. And let that remain last season in the past. We don't want to think about that anymore. Despite us almost certainly having to read through certain articles that regurgitate the same dismal stats from last season about finishing 12th, lowest goal scoring tally, lowest points tally, etc. But we're in a unique position. We won't have Europe. We don't need those midweek extra squad size for the midweek games. So we can afford to get rid of more. And maybe it's just a time that we really do just burn. It's not just, trim the fat. Just burn all the fringes. Break it down to the core, the heart. The heart. As you can see, you might see behind me, I have, due to request, removed certain players that probably don't play for Chelsea anymore. That was the Mason Mount and, at the time, Christian Pulisic, even though currently he is a Chelsea player, I think he would be sold, to a Stamford Bridge art graphic and the Yanni Ultimate Team card, 87 rated left forward. Call me up, Bowley. And then I've moved a few things around. You've still got Munich, Chili's over there. And, I haven't taken Mason Mount down out of bitterness with the Champions League, but I just don't think I'd want a Manchester United player on the wall behind me. A current, if he was United and retired, then you'd put him back up. But while he's playing for Man United, I just feel a bit uneasy about it. So I've ordered a Chelsea Stamford Bridge street sign to go just there. So the sort of backdrop is done. and looks good. I know I'm trying not to be petty, but people requested it, and I want to make the people happy. Yes, so Chelsea's squad, we need to trim it down big time. Pillars that could still leave. Well, Azpilicueta is going to Atletico Madrid. That's here we go from Fabrizio Romano. Baba Rahman simply has to go. Like, I feel bad for this dude. Like, he probably did quite well staying on Chelsea's books, being paid well. Always been playing football. Has he been playing football? I don't even know. Dude just spawns in the squad list every now and again. But he will go. The likes of Trevor Chalobah could go, which would be kind of sad, really. If Trevor Chalobah does get sold, and again, it does represent pure profit because he's an academy player. Many people, and quite rightly, would be upset with us selling him, though rather sad it wouldn't sting for a long, long time, unless, of course, he went to Inter and just became this Champions League regular and, wins Serie A. Or would it sting? But it would be like what Tomori's done. That's what Tomori's done. He's gone and won the Scudetto, Serie A. He's, got to the semi-final of the Champions League. But we're okay with that, right? I would make similar money for Trevoh Chalobah that we would for Guy Tomori. And it's pure profit. And in the, we all understand Ruben's got to go, and we all got emotional of his leaving video about him going to Milan, but we wish him the best. Could we do that with Trevoh Chalobah, or do we feel we're being silly? One thing makes me think why make it slightly easier is because Levi Colwill, I think, is, a lot of people aren't taking too well to his demands. It's not really a demand, it's just transparency of what the club planned for him. If Trevoh goes, you'd think Levi or Badiashile, despite both being left-footers, one could play on the right. And of course, you'd be left with 3 young starters that want to start in Wes, Benoit, and Levi. And then, of course, you'd have Thiago Silva as the senior guy there to teach them. That kind of gives more options, more chance for one of... for the youngsters to play. So if you could say to Levi, you're not, 1 into 4 here, you're 1 into 3 with a 2 centre-back system with the youngsters, because I do genuinely believe Thiago Silva will be sort of phased out a little bit. I don't think he'll be building in the future. He'll be like a sort of example. Who knows? He might just start at the beginning of the season because we need seniority, and that would be fine. But maybe that would convince Levi. And so it'll be, it'll be sad to see Trevoh Chalobah go. A different sort of centre-back / left-back would be, of course, Malang Sarr. Almost certainly will sell this guy to a Ligue 1 team. Bowley will try and sell him to our second club, Strasbourg, the second Blue Co club. Aubameyang, I think it's going to be a contract termination if we can find him. Because Galatasaray? Someone was going to take him, but they wanted us to pay the wages. And we were like, no. If you're going to have him on a free, you pay his wages. Anyway, we'll find a way to get Aubameyang somewhere. That is just a mistake. And then Cesare Caicedo for a loan. I believe he will get a lower Premier League loan, which is pretty high octane. He had a Reading loan. He could get a high profile championship loan, but I think more likely what the reports are suggesting that Cesare Caicedo will go either a lower echelon Premier League loan or Serie A loan, of course his home country. But his, it's Italian football know all about him, and they knew about him as a really promising youth product. And since he's worn the captain's armband for Italy's U21, scoring goals and playing really, really well. And of course, they know the fact how I think he featured in a cup game, didn't he, for Chelsea? Or certainly he's been playing, in the development team really well. And he had a good loan at Reading, despite them doing poorly. So his profile has gone big in Italy, so he'd go to a Serie A team quite easily. But I think Premier League scouts, like certain lower tier clubs, would definitely take him. And of course, Hudson-Odoi, sort of similar sort of level of Premier League club would probably go for Hudson-Odoi, which is a sad thing considering that the level he was once at. He'd be sold, he won't be loaned. I think he's got 1 year left in his deal anyway. So Chelsea would probably sell him for... The thing is, you know what's going to happen? The club that buys Hudson-Odoi off Chelsea is going to be having an absolute snip. I'll tell you why, because they'll probably buy him for like £12 million or something like that. And his ceiling's still so high. He's 22 years old. And he could just ball out on the Premier League stage. You could see him in certain games against, maybe not your Man Cities because they're such a terrifying behemoth at the moment. But, United's, maybe Arsenal, Liverpool. You see, he might score a nice goal at Anfield, do some trickery, rack up a few assists in the season. And they'll be like, whoa, this kid Hudson-Odoi. But he was always destined for at least that. So Chelsea selling him for 10, 12 million or whatever low fee they get. We look like we're being mugs. But ultimately, it's just moving on. It's letting the new waters of the footballing rejuvenation wash over you so we can start again. And it comes with taking some L's. But many of us, no one really... How many people are still saying, oh, Hudson-Odoi, keep him in the squad, give him a chance. Like, I'm exhausted, man. Just cut ties, And of course, the big one is Romelu Lukaku. There's talks due with Inter next week, so starting on tomorrow, and it almost certainly will be a loan with an obligation, but Inzaghi definitely wants Costa now they don't have Dzeko. Costa. I'm going for all Chelsea's good strikers in my head. How have I said Costa and Drogba when I'm thinking of Lukaku? It's like some peculiar backwards game. Yeah, but the Inter manager, Inzaghi, he wants Lukaku. And especially without Dzeko now, they really will push hard for him. And they will get a good deal for him ultimately for Belgium's starting striker who does play well for Inter now and again. So it will work out. I think we'll sell Lukaku there. And of course, Pulisic. Pulisic has been linked with all sorts of, some clubs in England, but Italian clubs. Of course, most likely Milan and Juventus have both been monitoring him. And of course, Newcastle United, which would be a really interesting one, have been looking at him. Of course, the Saudi-backed project of Newcastle, there is, very legitimate, sort of serious sports washing elements of that. And them buying Captain America of the US men's national team would be a step in the right direction for that sports washing project in terms of the American Western audience. I would probably prefer if he didn't go to Newcastle, though the money would be there. And I don't know. Do we worry about Newcastle right now? I guess we have to because they are better than us and they have theoretically unlimited money. So, but yeah, I would just like it. I like all the Chelsea players, preferably to be out of sight, out of mind. I don't, overly care about people. Don't overly care about Kovacic to City, and I've spoken about that before. Similar with Kai Havertz, he's getting over 300k a week at Arsenal. He's just absolutely taking the bag, and he likes living in London. Kai Havertz will forever be etched in Chelsea history for that goal, but he still remains a mercenary, as Matt Law writes. As was Kovacic to a degree, but it's Mason Mount that was supposed to be Chelsea. He wasn't a born mercenary. He was a Chelsea-bred product that now will go, entering his prime to go and play for Manchester United. That's what wasn't in the script. But so I wouldn't mind too much if Pulisic stayed in the Premier League for that reason. But at the same time, I just prefer Chelsea players, if possible, to be sold out of sight, out of mind. Ideally. Anyway, let's talk about Caicedo. So Chelsea will make some big moves still in this transfer window, and not this multitude of millions of sales that we've just spoken about, or even in a couple of loans to boot. But a couple of high-profile purchases, and Caicedo will be the next, I think, and it will be. It's so important to get this over the line. He, as soon as you've got him, you feel with the centre backs, the full backs, maybe not the goalkeeper, but we'll just pray and hope that Kepa can develop, even though there are stories of there's a chance Chelsea will buy a goalkeeper. But, with that core of those good centre-backs, well, we have good centre-backs, and we've got good full-backs. Ain't no disagreeing with that. And then a double pivot of Caicedo, Enzo, with Nkunku in front. We got young wingers, and then is Jackson up front enough? We'll have to see. But Caicedo it kind of makes you feel so much safer. Finally, our midfield chasm has been healed, has been filled up with the soothing mass of Enzo and Caicedo. I could have done better there. So yeah, but Chelsea will go strong. So say Fabrizio Romano. We start new contacts next week, and of course there's been reports suggesting that this 120 million is just laughable. Where that story's come from. 100 million. I'd be very disappointed if we spent 100 million on Caicedo. Of course, Declan Rice has just gone for 105 million to Arsenal. He's about to. So Caicedo, I think we're not going to get him for 60. If we get him for 70 plus 10, and I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, I'd be happy. And I don't know why I'd be happy, because of the words I've just said. If we bought a young Brighton midfielder who's had a good season for 80 million pounds, I'll be happy. Again, I think we've gone through the looking glass. I don't know how we've arrived here, but this is where I am. I'm saying if we buy a Brighton midfielder who's had a good season, who's young, who cost like 5 million originally, if we spend 80 million on him, I'll be happy. I feel like I'm losing my mind. But still, he represents that profile of that player to just have a midfield. For too long, Kovacic, Jorginho and Kante, all excellent players in their own right, in their own profile, in their own footballing styles. They are. Jorginho was third in the Ballon d'Ors, won Champions League, won the Euros as an integral player. Kovacic, played for Real Madrid, Inter and Chelsea. Excellent success with Croatia. Pep Guardiola's Man City have just bought him. Undeniable quality. And N'Golo Kante, I kiss the ground he walks on. We all do. It doesn't even need a description how good he is. But they're all don't really match, and we need to just build a systemic foundation of a midfield. Right, bang, bang, you two, done. This is it. You two, and you know how to play with each other. You know how to defend transition. You know how to defend your back four. You know how to distribute the ball out. Enzo obviously slightly ahead. And you know how to sort of communicate and combine with your nearest relevant players between the lines. Whether that is letting Kuku receive it, as a number 10, playing in the pocket, playing in the hole. Or if it's Mudryk running in behind. Or if it's Jackson coming deep and turning on the half turn to transition, or Noni Madueke coming inside. Who knows? Hakim Ziyech might still be at Chelsea. But it's just so important. So obviously we're going to watch that story with really, really keen interest. So make sure you are locked to Football Therapy for that developments. Hit the bell for Caicedo and these multitude of sales. And of course there still could be a strike, like a Galactico striker. So keep it locked, man. I look forward to updating you, and I look forward to seeing you back here very soon.